In 2007, a physicist shared an idea that surprised the scientific world: a shape so complex that it could hold everything, all forces, all particles, and even gravity.
This particular pattern of charges in 8 dimensions is actually part of the most beautiful geometric structure in mathematics. It's a pattern of the largest exceptional Lie group, E8. This Lie group is a smooth, curved shape with 248 dimensions. Each point in this pattern corresponds to a symmetry of this very complex and beautiful shape.
This shape is called E8. It exists in 248 dimensions, far beyond what we can imagine. Yet, it is built on perfect symmetry. Inside it, every known particle fits with exact mathematical order, almost as if they were always meant to belong to the same design. Even more amazing, this model shows that there may be other particles we have not yet discovered, hidden in the unused parts of the pattern. But what makes it even more interesting is this. The idea suggests that reality may not be made of physical things at all, but of structure itself. Matter, movement, and even time could arise from the way geometry works across dimensions.
The geometry of this shape could describe everything about how the universe works at the tiniest scales. And the pattern of this shape, living in 8-dimensional charge space, is exquisitely beautiful. And it summarizes thousands of possible interactions between these elementary particles, each of which is just a facet of this complicated shape. As we spin it, we can see many of the other intricate patterns contained in this one.
E8 is a highly symmetrical mathematical structure with 248 parts. Studied in advanced geometry and group theory, it belongs to one of the most complex categories of exceptional Lie groups in mathematics. Its power lies in symmetry. In physics, symmetry is not just about beauty. It determines how particles act, how forces connect, and how conservation laws hold true. The standard model of particle physics is based on symmetry groups SU3, SU2, and U1, which describe the strong, weak, and electromagnetic forces. However, these groups do not include gravity. E8 offers something different, a single structure big enough to contain all these known groups along with gravity in one unified system. Physicist Garrett Lisi proposed mapping all fundamental particles and forces onto E8's internal coordinates. He showed that known particles such as quarks, leptons, gluons, and photons fit neatly into its geometry. Even more, he found extra parts of E8 that did not match any known particles, suggesting the possibility of new, undiscovered elements of the universe. In this model, particle interactions are not treated as separate forces, but as rotations and movements within the E8 shape. For example, electromagnetism is not a separate rule, it is simply a path inside this geometric space. Even gravity fits naturally into the same internal logic. This makes E8 more than just a way to describe reality. It becomes a tool that can generate it. Instead of writing separate equations for how forces work, we can explore the geometry itself and see how structure creates behavior. The model has not yet been confirmed by experiments, but the mathematics supporting it remain strong. What makes the E8 model so compelling is not only its inner logic, but the fact that structure, alone without extra adjustments, can create behavior that matches physical reality. When particles are placed within E8, their interactions follow paths set by the geometry. These paths match the way particles act in quantum field theory. Properties like mass, charge, and spin are not added by hand. They emerge naturally from where each element sits in the system. This changes how we see physical laws. Instead of rules written to control matter, we now see matter behaving according to its place in a pattern. And this idea is not limited to high-energy physics. Nature, at every scale, works through structured repetition. The same ideas, symmetry, transformation, and minimal variation appear in crystal growth, living forms, and even brain activity. What we call natural design often comes from efficient geometry, repeating itself under certain limits. E8 is the most extreme version of this, a perfect symmetry stretched to its mathematical edge. But its importance goes far beyond particle physics. It points to a deeper principle found everywhere: pattern as the foundation of reality. Patterns are not limited to theories, they appear everywhere in the physical world. from tiny atoms to massive galaxies. This repetition shows that structure is not just a byproduct of matter, but a fundamental organizing force. In living systems, shapes repeat with precise mathematical order. The Fibonacci sequence, for example, guides the arrangement of leaves, the spiral of shells, and the form of pine cones. Each step in the sequence builds on the last, creating growth that is both efficient and compact. Flowers often have a Fibonacci number of petals, and the spirals on sunflowers or pineapples also follow this sequence. The same principle is seen in hexagonal structures, such as honeycombs or basalt columns. Hexagons fill space with the least surface area, giving maximum strength and efficiency. This pattern appears naturally in cooling lava, crystal growth, and even cloud formations near the poles. In physics, symmetry controls atomic bonds and molecular shapes. Crystals form when particles arrange themselves into lattice that balance forces in the most stable way possible. No outside design is needed. The structure arises naturally from internal constraints. These patterns are not symbolic decorations. They are real outcomes of systems seeking stability, flow, or replication, and in every case, the result is predictable geometry. This consistency shows that geometry is more than a tool of science. It is proof that the universe organizes itself through repeating, scalable forms. It also connects the abstract idea of E8 with the visible world, both working by the same principle, internal symmetry creating external behavior. Recognizing this moves us beyond surface beauty. Pattern is not decoration, it is the signature of how information, matter, and energy arrange themselves across all levels of reality. When a structure repeats in a stable environment, resonance can occur. Resonance is not just a figure of speech, it describes the synchronization of systems that share matching frequencies, whether mechanical, acoustic, electromagnetic, or biological. In physics, resonance happens when a system is exposed to a frequency that matches its natural vibration. This increases motion, energy transfer, or structural alignment. Tuning forks, bridges, and even atoms respond in predictable ways. On the molecular level, resonance energy helps stabilize chemical bonds as electrons spread out in patterns that minimize energy. This is what makes aromatic compounds in chemistry so stable. In biology, resonance shows up in neural oscillations. Different regions of the brain synchronize during perception, attention, and memory. This coherence allows information to flow more efficiently across networks. Scientists measure this synchrony to identify functional brain networks and to detect abnormalities in them. Resonance also appears in ecosystems, predator-prey cycles, seasonal migrations, and circadian rhythms all stabilize around repeated interactions and internal timing. These examples reveal that structure and rhythm are not separate, they support each other. Geometry creates the framework, while resonance sustains it over time. Resonance acts as a stabilizing feedback loop, filtering out mismatched patterns and strengthening those that align. This happens in physical materials, in thought, and in living systems. Resonance aligns complexity into lasting order, and this principle is not limited to sound or vibration. It applies to fields, forms, and information systems across scales. In physical systems, resonance boosts function. In cognitive systems, it sharpens awareness. The logic is the same. Alignment through frequency creates integration. Stay with me, because next we will explore one of the most well-known visual expressions of this principle, a structure celebrated for its symmetry, proportion, and recurrence in both ancient traditions and modern science. The flower of life is a geometric symbol that appears consistently across many ancient cultures. It is made of overlapping circles arranged in a hexagonal pattern, with each intersection forming evenly spaced points. This is not just decorative art, it is a precise system of symmetry and proportion created through simple repetition and radial expansion. Within this structure, many geometric forms can be found. From it, one can derive the vesica piscis, the seed of life, Metatron's cube, and the Platonic solids, all fundamental in classical geometry. These shapes are not just symbolic, they have real mathematical importance and are used in architecture, crystallography, and spatial modeling. The flower of life shows radial coherence, where every point relates to the center and to the whole. This principle appears in molecular structures, patterns of cell division, and even in astronomical formations. It can also be extrapolated from tetrahedral arrays to model the fundamental geometry of spacetime, offering insights into gravity, the mass and radius of the proton, and the gravitational coupling constant. Its appearance at ancient sites in Egypt, Mesopotamia, China, and India suggests that different cultures independently recognize the same principle. Complex systems emerge from repeating simple units with fixed ratios. This geometry also models wave interference and resonant field patterns. When circular waves intersect, they form patterns similar to the flower of life, with nodal points of stability and cancellation. These points define energy concentrations, much like lattice nodes define stable bonds in matter. In modern science, this geometry is studied in frequency field modeling, cymatics, and antenna design. Its efficiency in packing space, distributing signals, and overlapping fields is measurable and practical. The pattern is compelling because it unites form, function, and repetition. It is not chosen for beauty alone, it provides a spatial solution, allowing energy, information, and structure to coexist efficiently. From particle models to memory networks, the same logic appears: order through symmetry, growth through repetition, and coherence through resonance. For decades, neuroscience focused on neurons, firing and chemical signals passing between synapses. But in recent years, this view has expanded not by changing what we see, but by changing how we interpret it. In 2017, researchers from the Blue Brain Project published a study with unprecedented findings. When neurons process information, they do not fire randomly or in simple chains. Instead, they organize into geometric formation structures that match well-defined mathematical objects. The Blue Brain team discovered a multi-dimensional universe within brain networks, reaching up to 11 dimensions, using algebraic topology in a way never before applied to neuroscience. They uncovered these multi-dimensional geometrical structures, called simplicial complexes. At the simplest level, 3 neurons firing together form a triangle. As complexity increases, the shapes grow tetrahedrons, 5 simplices, and even up to 11-dimensional configurations mapped using algebraic topology. This is not speculative. The findings come from precise, mathematical analysis of large-scale neural simulations based on living brain tissue. These structures form when the brain processes information and collapse once the activity ends. These collapses are called topological transitions. Simple stimuli activate lower-dimensional shapes, while complex or multisensory inputs produce higher-dimensional forms, short-lived but measurable. In practical terms, this suggests that thoughts may not be just patterns of electrical activity, but geometrically structured events with dimensional depth. They form, exist briefly, and dissolve like temporary scaffolding built for specific tasks. This has important implications for understanding memory, attention, and consciousness. Even without speculation, the facts are remarkable. The brain uses geometry to encode information. These structures are real, measurable, and aligned with mathematical systems already used in theoretical physics. This may be the first bridge between abstract, multi-dimensional geometry like and observable biological function. It reveals a hidden pattern inside the most complex system we know, built not from words or thoughts, but from shape, structure, and alignment. Geometry is not limited to biology or the brain, it shapes the universe itself. From the smallest measurable scales to the largest systems, geometry governs how space is structured. At the Planck scale, distances below about meters lose conventional meaning. Space may not be continuous, but made of discrete geometric units, forming a grid that underlies all interactions. This concept appears in black hole physics. According to the Bekenstein-Hawking formula, a black hole's entropy, or the information it can store, is proportional not to its volume, but to its surface area. This led to the holographic principle, which suggests that all information inside a 3D region can be encoded on its 2D boundary. It is as if the universe we see, the planets, stars, and everything around us is a holographic projection of information encoded elsewhere. At cosmological scales, geometry guides the motion of galaxies. Spiral arms follow logarithmic curves, not random paths. These spirals appear throughout nature in galaxies, hurricanes, and even nautilus shells following the same mathematical pattern. Saturn's North Pole hosts a persistent hexagonal storm, first observed by Voyager and later confirmed by Cassini. Its stability and symmetry resemble the self-organizing geometry seen in crystals and fluid systems. Fractals appear everywhere as well, from mountain ranges and coastlines to blood vessels and lightning. Nature creates complexity by repeating simple rules at multiple scales. Trees, rivers, and even neural networks follow the same branching logic. These patterns require no external programming, they emerge naturally from energy flow, spatial constraints, and feedback loops, favoring structural efficiency at every level, from subatomic fields to star systems. The universe shows geometry guiding formation. These repeating, scaling, and stabilizing patterns do more than describe the universe, they help shape it. The idea that the universe is shaped by geometry becomes even clearer in modern physics. Some quantum gravity theories suggest that space is not a smooth backdrop, it is made of discrete elements connected in a network. In loop quantum gravity, this network is called a spin network. Nodes and links define areas and volumes like a mesh, with each node carrying quantum information. The structure itself defines geometry. This means that space may not exist independently. It could arise from how information is arranged. In this view, the geometry of entanglement builds spacetime. When objects are entangled, the connections between them create a kind of spatial relationship. For very dense, macroscopic objects, entanglement can generate space-time itself. Two regions of space are close not because of physical distance, but because of shared information how entangled they are. Geometry becomes a description of relationships, not absolute positions. This changes how we think about reality. Space, form, and motion may be the visible result of a deeper structure defined by topology and information. Even gravity could emerge from how quantum bits are arranged and connected. Gravitational attraction would then be a consequence of information flow between regions, not a fundamental force. These ideas are supported by calculations in ADS, CFT correspondence, where a gravitational system in one space corresponds to a quantum system on a lower dimensional boundary. Geometry and quantum information, once separate, now appear as two aspects of the same structure. If correct, the universe is not built from particles, it is built from correlations. Reality, then, is the result of geometry applied to information. This is not science fiction. It is the frontier of theoretical physics, suggesting a universe where space, time, matter, and energy are all expressions of underlying structure, not randomness, not chaos, but order written in form.